Welcome to the deep dive. So you brought us this material on leading with vulnerability, essential burnout prevention, and wow, it really jumps out, doesn't it? This challenge to the idea that just working harder makes you a better leader. Yeah, this deep dive is all about this really critical leadership paradox, how that amazing work ethic, the thing that gets you promoted, how that same drive, if you don't manage it, can actually will lead to your downfall. Your drive becoming your weakness, potentially. So our mission today is to unpack that. We want to look at the concrete steps needed to maybe shift that perspective. Understand why self-awareness isn't just like a soft skill here, but something absolutely fundamental for leading long-term. Sustainable leadership.
Exactly. And what's really striking is how the sources frame burnout. It's not seen as just your personal problem, but as a serious risk to the organization, a liability. And they link leadership effectiveness directly to being reliable. I mean, a good leader has to be reliable, right? That's sort of definitional. But here's the tension they point out, and it's simple math, really. You just can't be reliable consistently if you're, well, not okay. They use this great metaphor like an emotional fuel gauge.
Yeah.
Leading on empty, that's not heroic. It's actually dangerous for the team and the whole operation.
Dangerous. I want to dig into that word because the sources give this specific guideline. It feels like it pushes back against, I don't know, decades of corporate culture, leadership rule, hashtag 111 they call it. It's okay to not be okay. Just saying that out loud feels a bit revolutionary, doesn't it? Especially in high-pressure jobs. We're so used to the stoic leader, the one who just absorbs everything. If they admit they're struggling, doesn't that risk shaking everyone else's confidence?
Ah, yes, that's the core friction point, isn't it? And the sources tackle it directly by sort of redefining what strength even looks like in leadership. They argue vulnerability, when it's shared thoughtfully, isn't weakness at all. It's actually active modeling. So when a leader says, hey, I'm feeling the pressure too, or acknowledges stress, they're modeling strength through vulnerability. That creates huge psychological safety. It basically gives the team permission, real permission, to say, okay, I need to look after myself too before they hit burnout. It could prevent so much attrition, so many mistakes.
Okay, so it's a cultural shift. Vulnerability is a protective thing, not a risky one. That completely reframes responsibility then, because for ages, responsible meant just pushing through no matter how burnt out you felt inside. But these sources, they flip that script completely, recognizing your emotional or mental tank is empty, as they put it. That's not avoiding responsibility. That is the responsible thing to do. It shifts responsible from just, did I finish this task, to, am I ensuring I can actually keep performing well over time?
Think about it like this. The professional athlete analogy they use is just perfect. You wouldn't praise a top marathon runner for hiding a stress fracture and running until their leg literally snapped, would you?
No, of course not. That'd be incredibly irresponsible self-sabotage.
Exactly. And that's how the sources view pushing through real emotional exhaustion. You're basically guaranteeing a collapse down the line. True professional excellence isn't ignoring the injury. It's having the discipline for recovery, the self-care protocols. So you're actually available for the next big race, the next critical project. And that makes consciously preserving your energy, your well-being, essential for sustainable leadership. It's strategic.
That distinction is huge. Preemptive recovery versus just waiting for the collapse. And it leads right into what the sources say about support, about asking for help. If we see leadership health as strategic, then needing help isn't a failure anymore. It's a strategic move, right? The sources are really clear on this. Seeking support is not a detour from being a leader. They actually define it as a direct path to resilience and growth. That kind of language forces you to rethink that whole internal story about needing help, doesn't it?
It really does. And if we buy that premise that help actually equals growth, then the next question has to be, okay, how do we actually know when the tank is low? How do we measure it? Because if we don't, we just fall back into that old habit of pushing until something breaks.
Right. We need the how-to. And this is where it gets really practical, really interesting, because the material doesn't just leave us with the theory. It gives us 3 specific things leaders need to do. The 3 ways to bring awareness. This is crucial if you actually want to put this vulnerability idea into practice.
Okay, pathway number 1 is all about self-monitoring. Practice reflective check-ins. This is how you formalize checking that fuel gauge. It's not just a gut feeling, it needs structure. And they're quite specific. Set aside time weekly. That scheduled part is key. Weekly to really assess your emotional and mental state. You have to ask yourself tough questions too. Not just, am I tired, but more like, where's my energy really draining right now? Which relationships have I been neglecting? What's the biggest anxiety I haven't even said out loud yet? Things like that.
So it's like booking a mandatory meeting with yourself,
Yeah.
your most critical asset, right? If
Mhm.
you don't schedule it, yeah, the day-to-day stuff will just swallow it whole. Okay, pathway 2 then takes that personal awareness and scales it up to the team. Normalize vulnerability in team culture. This is where that psychological safety really gets tested, I suppose. And it's not about, you know, unloading all your personal problems in the team meeting. The source is careful to add appropriately, share personal challenges appropriately. Maybe it means modeling balance, like saying an update, look, I'm taking Friday off to properly recharge after that intense quarter instead of just silently powering through. The goal is to open up dialogue about mental health, about support, not overshare drama.
Hmm. And the payback for the organization there is pretty immediate. When people see vulnerability is okay, even managed strategically, it lowers the shame around asking for help or time off. That means less hidden stress, which usually translates to, well, lower turnover, fewer mistakes, maybe even more creativity because people aren't wasting energy just trying to look okay.
Okay, internal monitoring first, then normalizing it in the team culture. What's the third pathway?
The third has to be structural and external. Build a support network because you can't just rely on the team you lead to absorb all your leadership stress.
Hmm.
That's, well, it's not fair to them and it's not sustainable for you.
Yeah, I suspect this is the step that high achievers often skip. They're so used to being the support system, not using one.
Precisely. So this network needs to be trusted peers, maybe outside your direct team, experienced mentors, maybe even professional coaches or therapists, people who can offer that objective, confidential view. It's like a necessary pressure release valve. But here's the kicker, the really powerful bit. You have to make reaching out to this network a regular part of your leadership practice. Don't just wait until you're already burning out or in crisis mode.
So it's maintenance, not just emergency repair.
Exactly. If you only call your mentor when you're falling apart, that's triage. But if you have a check in with your network quarterly, even when things feel fine, that's proactive maintenance. And that difference between proactive health and reactive failure, that's the core of sustainable leadership, according to these sources.
That really ties it all together, doesn't it? Moving from just reacting to crises to proactively maintaining your ability to lead. So, pulling it all together, what's the big takeaway from this deep dive?
It seems to confirm that leadership paradox is very real. Your work ethic is vital, but without structure, without self awareness, it can actually undermine you. To lead sustainably, you have to acknowledge burnout is real and actively take steps like those three pathways to prevent it. Self care, then, isn't some kind of fluffy indulgence, it's actually reliability care. By doing those reflective check ins, normalizing vulnerability the right way, building that regular support network, you're basically ensuring your tank stays full enough to deliver that consistent, high quality leadership everyone expects. Yeah, looking at the bigger picture, this material gives us a kind of roadmap. Professional excellence that's built on consistency and health, not just bursts of unsustainable effort followed by crashes. And if asking for help needs to become that regular part of leadership a habit, not just the desperate reaction, it leaves us with a really important question for you, the listener, to think about. What specific, maybe small daily rituals or communication shifts would you need to put in place? How would you ensure you're consistently prioritizing keeping your own tank full, even when those urgent work demands are screaming for attention? Could it be scheduling just 15 minutes of quiet reflection every Tuesday? Or maybe sending one check in email a month to a trusted peer, even when everything feels fine? Moving this from just an idea to a real habit. Well, it probably starts with identifying that first small, doable ritual